How's everybody doing? Doing. I'm going to look at something really quick while people are coming in. So don't mind me while I read something. Okay. A massive snowstorm. My Haley, Mondays with Melanie. I like that. My uncle sent me a picture of his snow blower. Is that what they're called when I don't have snow where I'm at. So snow blower where you get to like mow the snow and it blows. Is that what it's called? He was very excited to use it. He's on the East Coast as well. Um, so he was excited. I was just like, okay. Oh, how's everybody doing? I want to hear in the chat, what's one thing that's disappointed you recently? And if you don't have disappointment, that's great. Put none. My progress, myself as a mom, my brain capacity, myself. Not living up to my own standards. Still reacting strongly, overreacting, escapism. A relationship I thought was real, holding my voice back, insecurities in romantic relationships. How many of you, after listing that disappointment, I want you to list if you're managing it or you're overcome by it. Type managing or overcome. Beautiful. A couple overcomes, so lots of managings. Both-ish. I like there is a middle ground. There's a transitional space there. Oh, that's funny. I like it. Uh-huh. Yep. Okay. I just want everybody to think of that disappointment. I want you to close your eyes. And, for those who are new, maybe haven't been part of the talks around thoughts and declarations, we want to say statements. We're going to do some declarations. I'm going to have you repeat, but I want you to make them something that sounds true to you, like truth that you can grab. So if I say, I let compassion in, if that feels like it's hitting a wall and bouncing off your heart, then I want you to say, I'm open to letting compassion in. Okay. So you can use words like I'm open to invite that in. If it feels like it's hitting a wall, if a declaration's made, it doesn't feel true and it bounces off you, you can say, I'm learning to know that. I'm growing to understand that. I'm a beautiful person, those kind of things. So I'm going to have you repeat after me on some things. And I want you to start with closing your eyes, take a deep breath in and let it out. Let it all the way out, like push that air out. This gets you into your executive function better. So breathing in, 3, pushing out, 6, push it out. That brings that executive function in. All right. Repeat after me. I call my heart into alignment with the one true God, Jesus Christ. I call my heart to hear every word he spoke and is still speaking. I am right where I need to be. I am right on time. I am not late. I have a purpose, and I'm learning to connect to that purpose. Nothing goes to waste in God. Even my disappointments, he can use. I am here to connect with people and their hearts. Most importantly, I'm here to connect to my heart and the heart of God. My heart has room for more. Overwhelm is a lie. Disappointment is a lie. Not enough is a lie. Too much is a lie. I submit my heart to the Lord today. I let compassion in. I let trust dwell. I acknowledge the peace inside. I acknowledge the joy inside. I acknowledge the hope inside. And to all those things, I give permission to grow. Go ahead, take a breath. Yeah, that's good. That was real good. Wonderful. Oh, you guys, I love you so much. Okay. I feel like dance parties. I have so many things on my mind. I was like scattered because there were so many thoughts I had, and I was like, Lord, which thought do I go with? So, there's some I want to read you. Okay. I want to talk about purpose for a moment. And how I want you to tell me, like, what do you think purpose is? It's been confused. I think purpose can be confusing. Because a lot of people think purpose is like something to be, or like a title to embody, like mom, wife, daughter. Yeah, purpose, where your soul sings and what you're doing. Yes, I love that. 100%. Business owner, things like that. Like those are all external things though, right? Like anything we could list out, like I'm a hard worker, I'm a girlfriend, a wife, a mom, I'm this or that, this title, this role, that role, right? Those are all roles that we fill, right? But our purposes are not found in our roles. Our roles can like be a place that our purpose pours onto, but that's not the purpose, right? So like, for instance, if I feel like my purpose is to be a wife and a mother, that purpose is outside of myself, right? That relies on a man marrying me and my womb working so that I can have children, or I could go adopt children, right? So again, those are like out of my control. When I say outside of me, out of my control, I can't make them happen, right? I can have sex and make a baby, try to, right? But I've actually had infertility issues. I've had 5 miscarriages. And so that didn't work for me until God healed my body. And then I had 3 children. So when you have purposes that are outside of you and you lose, like, what if I had never gotten healed? And I thought my purpose was being a mother. Well, then I'm going to experience extreme loss. I'm going to spiral a whole bunch because I'm going to be purposeless, or part of my purpose is missing, right? And so shifting your focus of your purpose off of the roles that we can sometimes fulfill in life. Those are not your purposes. And so I want to share somebody's definition of purpose. This is Mastin Kipp's definition. Purpose ultimately is an emotion you cultivate within yourself and give away to the world in form of service to others. I'm going to say it again. Purpose is ultimately an emotion that you cultivate within yourself and you give it away to the world in the form of a service to others. So, in that context, I want you to think about this for a minute. Is your purpose tied into a role that is outside of yourself, like business owner? Like, what if you do you know how many like wealthy men who like own businesses and they had like 15 fail before the one that succeeded? Men and women out there who did business, and if their purpose was wrapped up in business, like losing those businesses would have caused them to spiral, even be suicidal. People without a purpose, like most suicidal people feel purposeless. And so trying to think of how far I want to take this. So here's what I want you guys to do. I want you to think about your purpose. Is it tied to a role outside of yourself? If it is, I want you to journal that out. And then I want you to ask the Lord about your purpose. And I want you to bring that concept to him of what emotion have you cultivated inside of you that you want to give away? Okay. You want to give it away. When you connect to that emotion, what it is, I think once you recognize, like you give it value by recognizing it. Like I like to give away freedom as an emotion. So like I want to kind of explain this a little bit, because freedom, you might not think freedom's an emotion, but you can feel what freedom feels like, right? Like there are feelings that go along with freedom. And so if someone were to ask me, okay, what's yours? I would say, I've cultivated freedom inside of me and I want to give that away. And so Liz, that's more like what I mean. I know like the emotion part is a little like, it's a little wobbly, but it's more like that. Like it's going to be emotions that have a structure to them, like freedom, right? Like I've cultivated freedom inside of myself. I love to give that away. I do that everywhere I go. It's not something that I only do here. I do it in my role as a mom. I do that in my role as a friend. I do that in all of my roles, showing up in business. Freedom is part of who I am. I bring that and I have purpose. That's why I can have purpose in administrative tasks, right? Like I can see purpose in when I was an administrator and behind the scenes of a nonprofit, and I wasn't working directly with the women at that time. Or when I was working at a nonprofit that served children, I wasn't working directly with the children, but I felt the purpose in the work that I was doing as an administrator, because I was like, I honor this task in a way that I'm bringing freedom, I'm bringing support to this happening. And so less about the role and more about you showing up as who you are, right? So who are you? What are some ways you consistently show up to places? What is going on in the chat? Did I write that definition? Okay. Yes. So that's Mastin Kipp's kind of thoughts on purpose. That when we talk about purpose, we're not talking about a thing that we do. We're actually talking about a feeling that we want. Right? So the purpose also is about the feelings that we get. Same with goals. When you guys talk about, let's say you want to make money and you're like, my goal is to make money. I want to make this amount of money. You're actually not going after the dollars. You're going after the feelings you're going to get when you have the dollars, because the dollars are going to bring you the ability to do this and the freedom to do that and the access to do this, right? So your goal isn't to make money. Your goal is to get the feeling that you're going to have when you have the money. If you need to lose weight, the goal, yes, it's to lose the pounds, but why? So you can have the feeling of more energy, the feeling of feeling sexy, the feeling of whatever, fill in the blank, right? Whatever feeling you think is at the end of that weight loss, that's what you're going for. And so purpose is similar in that you want to go after. When it comes to purpose, it's about a feeling that you're trying to go after. I want to fill in the blank. So anyway, just some thoughts. Like I said, I've been having random thoughts. If anyone has questions on that, we can talk about it. Just kind of threw up on you. And the author is, I'm trying to type it in the chat. Oh, let me move my screen here. Mastin Kipp. Now, not a Christian guy, but he's not anti-Jesus either. But just to give you a heads up. All right, who's first?
Hello. Hi, everybody. This is so good, Melanie, already. I saw so many women like wiping tears, including myself already. So great. So first off is Haley.
Haley?
Haley Bolt? There's so many Haleys now.
Yeah, Haley Bolt. It's you.
Hi.
Hey, Haley. Hi.
Hi. Wow. I'm doing good. It's so good because you opened this as if you were inside of my brain. You just knew how to eloquently say it all.
That's awesome. Maybe that's why I was all over the place with thoughts. I was connecting to you guys.
So true. A lot of women in the chat were like, wow, such good timing. This is what I needed. So thank you for going all in.
Awesome.
It's so interesting because I feel like you answered a lot of my questions, but also I'm still very confused.
I didn't share all of it. That's why.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay.
So there's more to be said. Yep.
There's more to be said. Okay.
I might need to just set up a whole 2 hours that we go through it.
Yeah. I would tune into that. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I feel like on that note, I have been trying this week to have an encounter with the Lord about my purpose. I'm having trouble connecting to like future Haley, and I'm in this transition spot and I feel it so deeply.
Yeah.
But I know the Lord can't tell me everything or my brain would explode, because I'm already learning so much about me through this program, and it's like it's so much. It's so good, but I wrote down my brain capacity is what I'm disappointed in the chat. So basically I am like, I just need help. Like I want to connect to my father. I want to have an encounter. I need to know, like, what is my next step? I don't know what it is. There's so many things that I'm interested in and that are like cultivating who I want to be as a woman. Like, what is it that I'm giving away? And I feel like I've got a good grasp on that. And the Lord gave me a vision a couple months ago in a coaching call of like a future Haley, but it doesn't have to do with a job, but I spend 40 plus hours a week on work, and I want to do something that makes my soul sing, that I can pour my purpose into at the same time. Is that clarifying?
Yeah. And it sounds like, let me tell you back what I think you're asking.
Yeah.
You're asking is, you can see the future Haley that feels the purpose, right? Where you're like, this is what she looks like when she's walking in the purpose, but you don't know what that purpose is yet still.
Kind of, yes. Can I tell you what the vision was?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So it was a coaching call and we were connecting to our future selves, and I just saw me in a kitchen standing at the island, and my son's like 12-year-old friend sitting in the chair. And I was talking to him, and I was the mom that had compassion and insight about anything and everything that all of the kids in the neighborhood wanted to come and listen to, or just come to my house because they felt home and safe and comforted. And that's such a mission for my life. Like that is, I feel my purpose, and I give that in all of my situations and at work. But I just don't know, like, but what does that mean now? Like I'm learning that I love what we're doing here, like coaching people. I think that's awesome, and I'm good at it, that I'm finding, and I'm really into health in certain ways, and I love making people feel welcomed and connected. But like, what do I do with it? I don't have like the next right step. You know, like Jesus isn't like, you're going to be a missionary, or like, you're going to work here in this type of field. I don't know.
Right. What kind of roles and responsibilities do you enjoy and feel good at?
Yes, that's a good question. If I could be, I think this will answer your question. If I could be an adult, like college, like quote unquote college orientation leader for something, I would be thriving. If I could be like a host of something that I was passionate about, or a company that I aligned with, that would be so much fun, where I got to be the point person for a trip or a group of people, where I got to just be intentional, one-on-one, maybe even life coaching. It's something that I'm thinking about. That makes me sing. It's like making you feel so special because you are.
What sucks you dry? What kind of roles or responsibilities suck you dry?
Yeah. Probably a lot of administration work and math and science. That type of stuff. Becca's laughing at me. I see her.
My question is, where's the question? Because it sounds like It sounds like you know what you want to do.
I do in a sense. I just don't feel confident in it. It's like I'm so longing and searching for, yeah, you're poking at me. Longing and searching for my father to be like, "Hey, I see this in you. I'm cultivating it in you. Like you've been hanging on." And I'm like, "Jesus, I'm going crazy. I feel so uncomfortable. Like, can't you just tell me?" And so my question was essentially like, "Can you help me get there?"
You absolutely can, but it may not come in the way that you're hoping.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Ugh, you're
Um,
right.
I'm thinking about some questions here for a
Yeah.
minute.
Yeah. It just feels like a lot of little things, and there's no clear direction for me.
Uh-huh. No, yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
I've been there. Totally been there. I keep getting a like part of a question and then I lose it.
Mhm.
But so what do you need to be confident?
Mm, that's a loaded question. Like in this area, of course.
Yes. Yes.
Can I answer that question by telling you what I'm afraid of?
Sure.
Does that because I don't know how to answer that question, but I sure can tell you I know that the Lord will show up for me in the right way, but I'm scared that I'm going to have to step in a role that I might really enjoy but don't make enough money to live maybe on my own or like in a good place because I'm single. Like I don't have another income, so that scares me. It scares me that I won't find something that I'm really good at. And I'm afraid that I just won't be like adequate enough in anything.
And by adequate, do you mean like qualified or something else?
Yeah, qualified.
Qualified? Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, is this when you think about this thing that you want to do, is this something that is um what's my question? Is this something that's outside of your box, right? Like, is this, like if being a veterinarian was a very clear path, right? Like you would go to this amount of school, you would go to this type of college, and you would need to find a vet because you'd have to be a vet assistant first and work through the ranks. And like, there's a clear path to that, right? And so you in this, you don't have this is outside of the box a little bit. There's no clear path.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
No clear path.
Is there anybody doing what you want to do that you know?
Um, like yes and no, because I'm not fully convinced I know what I want to do yet. I guess for my next career move. Or like okay, so I'll tell you, you really sparked something in me the other day because you were saying that you get to help trafficking victims, and I thought like, oh my gosh, that's something that my brain has like totally opened to this year. I didn't even know it was such a big thing, but it is. And so I was inspired by you, like, oh, she's using these gifts to like help people, become free, but really is giving them this love and attention that they deserve in another area that I find interesting. So like you're kind of doing something I'd like to do.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that there's anybody that I know right now that has like this experience plus like wellness and health with oils and can do artwork like and make people feel really loved and welcome, but I can. So I don't know, like, do I need to go to school? Is it something that I don't even know about yet? Is it just me being a mom and that's what it is? Or is it side hustle while I'm doing something completely random?
Right.
I'm blowing up here.
Right. And those are all really great questions, right?
Yeah.
It's yes to all of those, right? Like it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I started out doing this work by friends.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like all of my life, people have come to me wanting my advice.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought my only option was counseling, but I didn't like counseling as like an only option because um I had had some experiences in that I didn't love, and I just didn't want to be that person. And there was a certain kind of person I wanted to be, but I'd never seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found life coaching, and I was like, that's almost it. It's almost there. But life coaching, by getting into what looked like it almost, I
Okay.
started there. I was like, this is almost it, right? And by getting into the almost it led me to where I wanted to be. And so
Yeah.
I thrive off of getting to do this where we get to include the Lord. Like this, there's no healing without him. And when I have to do coaching with people who don't believe in him,
Mm-hmm.
I still include him, but I have to call him things like unconditional love. Could we invite unconditional love into this moment? You know, I still mean Jesus, but they're okay to invite unconditional love, which is fine. But when I get to freely say his name and freely include him in the process and sit for a moment and listen to what he's telling me and then give that away, that is life-giving to me, mixed in with my skills of coaching, my good questions answering, my skill of intuition, all of those things, my discernment, all of my gifts get to come together, my empathy, my compassion, all of the things, my loyalty comes together in these moments where I get to express like most of my being through this channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of coaching.
Mm-hmm.
So coaching doesn't really define exactly what I do. That's why we call it consulting, because coaches follow a specific modality where they only ask questions. They will not give advice. They don't give opinions. So coaching is a very strict modality. And coaches who follow that strict modality get mad when you don't and you call it coaching. So I don't call it coaching just to honor the process.
Consulting.
But getting into coaching is what got me here.
Okay.
And so, and I've considered going back to school. I've considered, getting the degree or whatever. But every time I do, God stops me. And it's because my motives in those times are coming from a place of insecurity and thinking that I'm not qualified. And so I've resolved that now, but in the past, I was always looking for another thing, another education, another thing. Now I believe in education and I'll still do training as a coach, consultant. I'll do that to grow and get better. But I think most of the time, for in my role, like having coaches coach me and having like masterminds and places where I'm learning through experience with other coaches, while also learning the technical part of it is what gives me the best skill set. So
Okay.
I just gave a long example for something, but
Love it.
my question to you is to consider, what is the next thing that's almost like what you want to do? Because Haley, I want you to close your eyes for a minute and I want you to consider this because I feel this deeply inside of myself. Baby girl, what if you are going to create something that doesn't exist yet?
Melanie, today I was doing my Devo and I was thinking, I I had this thought of like, Haley, you're a trailblazer. Like, it doesn't exist yet. It scared me.
Yeah.
It like so scared me. I was like, what does that mean? Like, the reason you are experiencing all this stuff in your life is because like you're a trailblazer and like people are learning from you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's funny. Sorry, I didn't mean to like ruin your moment, but I was like, I already know.
No, I love it. You didn't ruin it. You validated it.
I'm like sweating.
Okay. So the next question is, what are you going to do about the fear that tries to get in your way? Because you're going to have to take risks to do this. You're not going to find the thing that doesn't exist yet without taking chances and failing. You have to fail.
Yeah.
So what I want you to do is you got to redefine what failure means.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's really, I have the fear of like missing the mark, failing, not being, not producing what people find worthy of consumption.
Yeah. And people are going to hate you. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to like you, especially if you're doing something new. You could go back and research like all the things like Apple. Okay. Apple, I remember when we all made fun of Apple in the 80s. I was one of them people.
Yeah.
And now Apple's laughing in everybody's faces, right? Like, and they failed and they failed. They had a lot of really bad products that I remember in the 80s. And so you can find that everywhere with people who are successful. Apple created something that didn't exist yet, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when you're creating something that hasn't existed yet, it might look similar to something, but it's new, right? And so I think that's when you were talking, I was like, oh, there's all these components because you're probably going to engineer a new thing.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
And very cool.
It is very cool.
Wow. So yeah, redefining what fear is.
Failure.
Sorry, failure. Okay. Mm-hmm. Redefining what failure is. What am I going to say to fear?
Yeah.
I mean, my first thought was like, you know, declarations over it, like, no, like you don't live here. But also what I'm learning in the program is compassion first. Like, yeah, you got to love on yourself. So I know it.
Right.
Gotta meet it with compassion.
And oftentimes there's, Matt, to quote Maston Kipp again, he calls it the original incident. So you have your behaviors, your thoughts, your feelings, right? And they lead back to an original incident that first birthed that sense of fear, right? And so healing those places, like that child part of Haley, that is still scared because she has proof it doesn't work. She has proof that this is why we should be afraid. And her proof is valid, right? But you're not child anymore. You're grown up, Haley. Yeah. And so you parenting that child part of you, giving it compassion, but also courage to say, you are safe here. I want you guys, I asked my therapist, my brain spotting therapist, I said, what are some ways when we're disassociating, like I could pass on to my clients, how to help? Like when you feel like you're not connected or you're not in your body or you're kind of like escaping out of the moment. Right now is too hard. I've done this with you guys where you breathe, but something else she said you can simply do is put both your hands on your body, one on your heart, one on your belly, and close your eyes and say, this is a safe place. It's safe to be here. I want you guys to do that right now. This is a safe place. It's safe to be here. So profound, you guys, but so simple. Stay there. I want you to really get it in deep. This is a safe place. It's safe to be here. And then at those times, if there's something you want to say to yourself, you say it intuitively, I'm in the right place right now. Mistakes are okay. It's going to be okay. We'll find another solution. God will open another door. There'll be another answer. Failing in this way is okay. It doesn't make you a failure. Okay. So, yeah, healing that part of you, having tools like that and other things that you do in the program are going to be the things that, going after fear, the compassion, the healing the original incident, parenting yourself, getting prayer, right? Like sometimes fear is a spiritual attack, like going, okay, I see you, fear. I will not partner with you. Go back where you came from. Sometimes you go into a room and all of a sudden you're afraid. Why am I afraid all of a sudden? Should I run? Oh, there's no danger here. I'm at my family's house. I don't need to run. But there's some crazy crap in the atmosphere. Okay, I see you, fear. I will not partner with you. Go back where you came from. And then ask the Lord, okay, Lord, what am I supposed to do here? So that's going to be the things you need to do. The going after the fear and then redefining failure. That's all I got for you, kid.
No, that was great. Thank you so much. I will be watching this recording again.
I bet.
It was just good confirmation for me too, because I couldn't figure out what I heard this morning. I wasn't fully convinced that it was the Lord, but I couldn't make that up. Like, why would I make that up? That's scary in a good way,
Right. I know. We're so afraid to be big.
Right. And I want to be big. So
I want to be big too.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you for teaching me how to lean into the bigness.
You're welcome. All right. Who's next, Jess?
Jill Ellis is next.
Jill Ellis. Come on down.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. I have my headphones on because my son's video gaming with friends right now. So it's so loud here. But
That's fun.
Well, thank you so much for everything so far. I mean, this was every time I jump on a call, like even when you're coaching other people, I just always feel so connected to it. So I want to share my gratitude for that.
Thank you for sharing. You never know, right? Like you hope.
I
worked hard to get the intention in there. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. So it's been fantastic so far already. So thank you. I'm going to just blurt it out because I don't know how else to say this.
Sure.
I'm really tired of not liking my mom.
Okay.
It's like, I feel like I've worked really hard to forgive her for, things that I felt were really painful in my childhood, but I'm at this point where I genuinely will try to spend time with her and just be so annoyed and frustrated. Mm-hmm. And I notice it more when it's me, her, and my son than when it's just me and her. So I know there's a component there, but I know I only have so many years left of her in this life with me, and I want to enjoy it more. Mm-hmm. And I literally keep my brain telling me, be kind, be compassionate. But there's a lot of negativity when she talks, to just just commenting about someone else's food preference. It's just, oh, that's so disgusting. Like, it's just over the top. And I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
to, and I want to have compassion to her for this too. She's been losing her hearing, and I know there's a component of not feeling heard in my childhood, like literally not being heard now. That's super frustrating.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, like, I do love my mom. I've accepted that we may not have this ideal relationship that I wish we would have had, but I'd love to just be in a softer space with her and more appreciative. And so that's kind of just been fizzling in me a lot lately. How do I get there?
Yeah. So I wrote a couple things down, and every time I wrote something down, you said it. And so one of them, first thing that came was the disappointment, you managing the disappointment that you can forgive your mom, but still have disappointment that it's not better of a relationship, right? It's not where you'd hoped it to be, or those kind of things. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, where's your disappointment at? If 10 is like, I am on my knees crying about it.
Probably like a 2 or 3, because I'm content. It's better here now where we're not fighting and we're a little more distant. You know?
And then, yeah, that's great. And then my second thing was on a scale of 1 to 10. Well, let me ask you this question. Does your mom play the victim?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you feel victim to her when she's in that space? Like you're powerless to do anything about it? Or how do you feel?
I feel annoyed and frustrated because, I mean, like, I will just tell her, I will say, you're not the victim in this scenario, or it isn't always about you. Like, have you thought about this other person's experience? Or, I try to change the narrative so much. Like, I can remember just saying, when she was just going on and on with her negative talk just about her day, and I was like, well, what's like 2 good things that you can pull from today? Like, I'll try and spin things all the time to this positive.
And what does she say? Does she do it, or does she go, eh?
She'll do it, but it's almost still from like a victim place still. She'll do it. She'll say it. She'll just be like, she'll say it's something like, I'm grateful for life. I'm grateful for my time here with you. It was nice to spend time with my mom today, or like she'll pull something.
Have you ever asked your mom questions to understand her? So for instance, when she shares, oh, that person's food choice is disgusting, asking her, Mom, I'm just curious, and I'm not criticizing you, but I am wanting to understand like your point of view. Why? We could talk about a lot of things. Why is talking about this person's food choice in a negative way conversation that you want to have? Because I'd actually love to have great conversations with you. And I want to like engage with you more, but I can't do the negative stuff.
Not necessarily in that much detail. I have told her I would appreciate less negativity, just more generalized, but not kind of going on one specific thing she says. Because usually it's by the time she said a few things and I'm like, can we just have like a positive experience? Can we talk about things that make us happy, or, just try to change it a little bit? But no, I haven't done it that specifically, I guess.
Yeah. So compassion is going to be your weapon here. And however you can get that compassion, do it. If you can, I would ask her questions that allow you to get to know her in those moments when she's doing that. Try to find out what's behind her thinking. Apply the principles of this program to your relationship with her, where you're kind of not teaching her, right? But you're using the tools of this program to get information from her that will develop compassion. Another question, so it's a little bit of a side note because I want to ask this question. How hard are you on yourself?
I'm really hard on myself. I've had to really actively change how I am about myself.
Yeah. I
It's gotten
think
a lot better. It's
sure,
gotten a lot better.
sure. I think if you dig into that more, you'll have more space for your mom. Like your inner critic. So, are you familiar with the inner critic concept?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, your inner critic, and everybody listen to this. Our inner critic can turn outward. Okay. When our inner critic catches on that we're working on it, it will all of a sudden turn outward. And it'll nitpick. It'll do the criticizing that it does internally, outwardly. And then all of a sudden you're like, why am I being so critical? It's the same criticism you have inwardly. Your mom has a very strong inner critic. And this thing is just outward. Now, it will also go outward when it needs a break. So like your psyche or whatever will need a break from being beat up on itself, that it'll turn it outward and give it away. That's when it's in hyperdrive and it has no, there's no control over the thing. But you doing more work on the inner critic is going to help you with your relationship with your mom.
That makes sense. That actually gave me goosebumps.
So the question, like the other thing I said is like the side note, like I said, this is the meat of it. Yeah.
Okay.
What kind of work have you done on the inner critic?
I mean, I really just have tried to catch myself and hold more compassion for myself, because there was definitely, oh, there you messed up again, or that, like where I would never talk to my friends like that. So I've changed my internal dialogue significantly. I almost never do that anymore, but maybe that's why I'm feeling it so much with her. Maybe it's coming outward, like you said. I mean, I don't think it's perfect, because, I still have moments, but if I went from, on a scale to 1 to 10, I'd probably say I'm at like an 8 or a 9 improvement wise,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's that thing. So a couple things with your mom, that victim mentality triggers an inner critic. And so you might be great when you're not around someone who has a victim mentality.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You get around a victim and it's like tanked. You're like, nope, because your inner critic would never allow you to be that way. And so having any compassion for someone else, no way, Jose, can't stand it. You might try it. You might try to fake it. You try to pray it. You might try to work it up, but it's all on the outside of you. It's not internal.
No, this makes a lot of sense, because I don't like people that play the victim, or I'm very like, what are you going to do? How are you going to make changes? Like, not that I'm not compassionate ever, but when it's just like the ongoing, and not actively making changes to improve your situation, I'm just like, I can be pretty rough in those situations.
Yeah. So I have some homework for you. I want to ask you some questions, and everybody else, if you have a strong inner critic, write this homework down. You can do it too. Okay.
Let me grab my paper.
Go for it.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared.
Oh, you're fine. Tonight is fun. These are all really great questions. Loving it.
Okay, I have my notebook.
Okay. Okay, I'm making this up on a whim, so I'm not making it up, but the structure part I'm trying to get from the Lord right now. So, okay, let me see how I want to ask my question. Okay, I need you to connect to your heart, and I'm going to write this part down for you. Actually, Jesse's going to do this for you. Okay.
Okay.
I want you to connect to your heart. Jesse, whatever she says, will you type it into the chat for her so she can write it down? Jill, I want you to connect to your heart. Your heart's beautiful. It's amazing. It's carried so much. It is like an Olympic lifter of your life. It deserves honor. It deserves respect. It deserves compassion for what it's been through. When you connect to your heart, I want you to tell me 3 to 5 answers on this question, okay? Give me 3 to 5 times in your life that were really difficult or traumatic. And you can give them in one, you don't have to define them. I want you to list them like bullet points.
My mom's hysteria.
Mom's hysteria,
My dad's perversion.
dad's perversion,
My ex-husband leaving me when I had a 6-week-old, so it was pretty tough then.
Mm-hmm.
My brother's addiction.
Okay. Okay.
I think that's all that's coming to surface right now.
Okay. Okay. I just want to say, like, all of those are things that happened outside of you. And they were things you couldn't control. They were things that you probably had to clean up messes for. You probably had to cover for. You probably took the blame in time at times there. And though it wasn't your fault, it was major fault at times. There's a lot of places to heal here. Okay. Jill, thank you for connecting to that for me. Here's your homework. You're going to write yourself some letters. And you're going to do 3 questions, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you think about, your mom's hysteria, I want you to start with the question or the statement part of the story, which is, this is what happened. So this part is very factual. You're just going to tell the facts of what happened when you experienced your mom's hysteria. She walked in the room. She did this. She did that. People said this. People said that. I was this. This was that. It's very factual. Everyone would agree on those details. Okay. The second part is, so that's what happened. The second part is, let me see. This is how I felt. I want you to explain how you felt in those moments. And then the third part is, this is what I needed. I needed a mom who, I deserved blah, 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 right? This is what I needed. That's the last one. I want you to write those to yourself on each of those episodes that you shared.
Mm-hmm.
And then I need you, your home, that's not the end. I need you to read them out loud to yourself. As you're reading them, I want you to connect to the girl who was that age, that experienced that, the 12-year-old, the 12-year-old you, the 7-year-old you, right? Imagine her. You're not imagining you right now as an adult who's gone through that. You're imagining the child in that moment that had to experience that. And I want you to give her compassion. I want you to validate that child's experience, that girl's struggle, her feelings. And at the end, I want you to agree with everything she says. Yes, I could see how you could feel that way. Yes, you did need that. You did deserve that. You should have had this. God had better for you. But people had pain and people had free will. people were acting out their dysfunction. This is why I'm doing the work to get healed, because I'm going to break those cycles. This is why my time in Alive and Free matters, because I'm not going to do that. And so now you validate the adult you, right? Who is showing up for little you. I want you to feel it as deeply as you can feel it. This is supposed to help with that inner critic, okay? The other thing is, because it should develop compassion for you. If anyone has struggle connecting to that little version of you, then I want you to imagine someone that you love or can at least want to protect going through that, and then sit and like logically explain to yourself how you went through that too. You don't want it for so-and-so, and you would like punch somebody in the face for so-and-so, punch somebody in the face for you. I mean, not really, right? But you should have those same feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so anger, this leads me to my next point. Anger is absolutely necessary for dealing with the inner critic, you guys. You have to get angry at the thing that was done to you. You have to. It is not wrong. It is part of the process. Do not be mistaken. God is angry at the things that have happened to you. He is really mad about it. But we've been taught we're not allowed to be angry. Anger is part of the process. It's like if there's doors that we have to go through, anger is one of those doors we have to go through to deal with this inner critic, because the anger fuels that inner critic. We got to get rid of the fuel and get it out. If you have a safe person, Jill, that you can share one of these letters with, that's even better, because it's a level of vulnerability. And I want you to tell them, like, set them up ahead of time. Like, I'm going to read you a letter. This is part of my homework. You explain it. But tell them what I need you to do at the end is validate it. I need you to validate that I was right to feel that way. Because feelings they're neither right or wrong, right? But that it was okay I felt that way, right? I need you to validate that it was hard I went through that. I need you to validate everything. And it's also a beautiful way to do it. It will feel awkward. I'm just telling you right now. It's going to feel awkward if you're not used to that. It will. So if you feel awkward in the moment, just keep like telling your heart, we're going to receive this. Because you're killing the inner critic. You're like stabbing it like, So by letting somebody else talk to you like that. That's the end of my homework. Tell me your thoughts.
No, I think this sounds great. I think it sounds great. I think talking through it makes complete sense to me. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't figure out where this was coming from. Yeah. So I'm happy to work through this.
Great. And then you might be able to, do that side note homework that I mentioned about learning more about your mom, right? Mm-hmm. And be able to connect. You might have better questions to ask her to where she might connect to something. Or you might notice like, her, maybe she's trying to be heard, right? And like, you can just validate her, right? And be like, oh, I hear you, Mom. I hear you saying this. And then just validate her. Sometimes people who get validated quit complaining.
Yeah, she probably needs a lot of that. She probably does, honestly.
Right. But give it to yourself first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this. Thank you so much.
That was great. I really enjoyed that. Thank you for sharing, Jill. It's a great call tonight, guys. It always is, though. It's hard to say that because then I'm not devaluing the past calls. Okay. Who's next?
Sam McDowell is next.
Come on down, Sam.
Hi, Melanie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. I'm having a weird day. I had a weird like last few days.
Okay.
But my question is about like I feel like I'm on like the craziest roller coaster ride with this program. Like there are stretches where I feel like I'm so powerful and I can like take on anything, and then something happens and then I just feel like I'm like broken like again. So um I recently, so when I started the program, I remember like one of my first questions was about like emotions and like processing them and like processing things through my body, because whenever like there's trauma or pain, like I can feel it a lot in my chest, sometimes in my neck and in my stomach. So I remember explaining, sorry, I keep getting
Cam, do you mind like turning that on
yeah,
vibrate?
sorry about that.
It's just like so loud. Yeah.
I
Thank you.
remember explaining to, I forget who, but I remember explaining that like I wasn't sure if the way I process my emotions was by design, like that's how God made me, or I just don't feel because that's just how I was conditioned to feel. So I've been trying to explore that for months, because something can happen and I will just like get stiff, but I can feel it, right? Like I won't cry, I won't like yell, any of those things. So
So
yesterday
you feel, but what happens? You're
I
like
nothing
immobilized?
comes out. Like I don't speak, I don't cry, I don't yell, like I just feel it. And so like that happens a lot. Like that happens when things just go crazy. It happens in like death, like whatever. Like it happens like in a different array of traumatic things. So yesterday I broke up with a guy that I was seeing, and like I felt like I had to, like we didn't agree on it, but I felt like I had to because of the circumstances. Like I was so angry, and it like we did it in person. It was like a full confrontation, but I just like sat there and like I didn't talk a lot. I just like I let him talk and I just kept saying, okay, like this is over. Like very calmly. And he was like, well, you can say how you feel, like you can yell, like you can do whatever you need to do. But I like in the moment, I just sat there. And then when he left, it's like my chest is hurting, my stomach is hurting, my head's hurting. So I like get on the phone and I call my one of my friends and I'm like, I wish I could just like cry it out or like scream or do something because the feeling is like heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was feeling like this happened yesterday. So I've been feeling like that since yesterday. So this morning, because I had to travel back, I live in New York. He lives upstate. So I traveled back downstate from where he is. So when I was traveling today, I was talking to my mom, like telling her what happened. And she's like, there's no need to get upset, Samantha. And I'm like, that's where this comes from. Because I feel like I can hear her saying that to me like as a little girl, because I couldn't figure it out. But she's like, there's no need to get upset. Like what he's saying is right. Um, if it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out, like regardless of what you do or what he does. And if it doesn't work out with him, there's someone else out there better for you. So then I'm like, but mom, like I have these emotions and I need to get them out. Like I get what you're saying, but I think like as a little kid, like I feel like I'm about to cry now, which is a good thing. But I feel like as a little kid,
Gotta go, girl.
it probably conditioned me to do that because I
Mm-hmm.
can't, even like yesterday, I felt like I had every right to like yell, scream, whatever, and I just couldn't do it. And then I wake up with this feeling. I'm like carrying it today, like probably into tomorrow. And it's like I don't know how to process the pain out of my body.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want you to close your eyes. Tell me where the pain is in your body right now.
It's in my chest.
On a scale of 1 to 10, what is it?
It just feels like really big and hot.
Okay. I want you to focus on it and make sure you don't hold your breath. Just breathe. I want you to focus on it. Let it be big. Let it have permission to be big. You're not alone. You're completely safe. It won't be too much. We won't let that happen. Sam, your mom was wrong. In this aspect, she was wrong. Where's it at on a scale of 1 to 10?
It's not as big as it was before, but it's still there.
Okay. So it's getting less. I want you to sit with it, give it all the attention. And let whatever comes come. I'm not going to talk for a minute, and I just want you to let whatever comes come. Okay. Be sure to breathe. Where are things at now?
I don't feel anything.
Beautiful. So that's what it looks like to sit with an emotion and just let it pass through. Was it overwhelming?
Yeah, it was.
Was it to the point that it wasn't worth it?
No, I mean, I feel better, but like I still feel the sadness, but not the like the physical, whatever it was feeling like in my body.
Yeah. So honestly, I think there's some radical things you're going to have to do. Like going into the woods and screaming your head off, or getting in the car and screaming your head off. And letting it come, like giving it permission to come. Your emotions need permission from you. Um, Otherwise, they're going to keep getting stuck. Yeah. Yeah. So you have stuck emotions. It hasn't been safe to have emotions because of this, the way mom set it up, right? Did you take time to forgive mom?
I think so. Like in the um beginning of the program, because I was thinking back to like some childhood stuff with my dad. I have a lot of dad pain. And like I never until like Alive and Free, I never like felt it. Like I never really like sat with it and felt it. And I'm like, why? Where did that come from? Like why don't you just like why is this the first time you're feeling stuff that happened when you were like 5? And I started to think back, and I figured it was something with my mom, but I wasn't exactly sure, but I knew it was with her, but I had compassion for her when I was like thinking about it and processing everything, because she's just very like my mom's like very like strict, and I think me, because of that and just what I do professionally, like I'm very poised all the time. Like I don't, I don't really like, not that expressive. Like I talk with my hands a lot, but I'm not super, like I don't give off a lot of emotion, except for just now. So I think it's just like a combination of all of that stuff, which just makes it hard. But sometimes I really just want to feel it and get it out, especially when it's pain, because it makes me sick. Like I could have headaches for days. I could not eat for days because my stomach is just in knots.
Yeah. I really think brain spotting would help you a lot. Brain spotting is a modality of processing trauma that gets stuck. What's great about brain spotting versus like EMDR. So EMDR, from my understanding, is you have to have a memory. So I'm going to go into EMDR and process the specific memory. I was raped. That rape scene, I'm going to process that memory. Versus brain spotting, you don't have to have a specific memory. It's actually, I feel a tightening of my chest when I get upset at this. And it's just, I don't understand why. So you don't have to know the whys as to why that's there. It also helps release trauma from the body, which is really great. And for those with children, it's amazing for kids. Have you ever thought about doing something like an extra modality like that?
No, never. But I'd be open to it if it helps.
Yeah. So brain spotting, it's amazing. EMDR would be second to that, in my opinion, for this.
Okay.
Yeah. And what did Emmett? Yeah, what I resist persists. What I feel, I'll heal. Definitely something that the more you feel it, the more you practice it, the better. And the more, it'll be a not a transgression. Words are starting to fail me, but it'll be a process, right? And starting with yourself, like giving yourself permission to have those emotions by yourself. Because you need to do this when you feel safe, right? Like you need to feel safe. It might not feel safe for you to do that with the ex or in front of mom, right? Even if mom allowed it, right? It would be hard still, right? It wouldn't feel safe. So when you're trying some things like this, like when you're dealing with the nervous system, you have to, like, healing happens in safety.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's one thing's like Alive and Free. A lot of healing happens here. There's a lot of safety that's created here. And so it allows you to take risks. You may not feel safe. Like there's a difference between like, oh, this is a risk and it's a little bit scary, to I don't feel safe. Mm-hmm. Right? There's a difference. And so taking risks is one thing, but not feeling safe, totally different. And so you won't, if you don't feel safe, you won't let it go.
Well, that's an issue for me, like safety, it is. And
Mm-hmm.
I try and think I've gotten better. Even the exercise you were just giving, I think it was Jill, with the hand on your chest and on your stomach. Like that was so good when I was doing it along with you guys. But that's been a huge thing for me, like feeling safe with people, and then also trying to get to a place where I can be by myself and feel safe. And I just don't.
Yeah.
I think I'm better, but I haven't achieved that yet.
Yeah. So working on creating a safe space here, so your emotions have a place to be. And you can do that by giving your emotions permission. When you recognize things in your body, be like, I recognize this. Check in, heart, what's happening? Why are we feeling this right now? Oh, I'm a little stressed out because so-and-so came in the room complaining about such and such. And so it's like, oh, okay. And so doing more internal work of safety is going to be really valid for your process of emotions. But you also have to do the work to like give the validation to your emotions. Like I need you to be big. I give you permission to be big. Even if I'm afraid of it, like it's going to be okay. Kind of like, if they were children, if you're talking to, children, like I need to know how you feel. Mm-hmm. If this was a kid you cared about and you saw that they were having big emotions, but holding it all in, right? I mean, I think everyone's probably seen a kid like that, right? And you're like, come on, just let it out. Even if it's messy, it's okay. Like, but it's so scary to do that when you're used to bottling it up because the adults in your world can't handle it. And so, again, going back to some of what I said to Jill, getting mad at this is important. And we can be angry and not sin, but it is crucial for us to heal in a lot of these places that we get mad at our parents and stop protecting them. They did their best, yes, but they screwed up too. And so getting mad at that and labeling it like that was not okay. That was not okay. Being able to say that is really important. Doesn't mean you have to say it to them, to their face. Some of you do, but not everybody does. Okay. So, but saying that, like imagining them in front of you, telling them it's not okay that you did that. It's not okay that that wasn't fair and this wasn't right. And then at the end, you can be like, but I release you and I forgive you, but it still wasn't right. You should have never done it that way. Some of you are still needing to have that like process of anger. If you have stuck things, anger, let it out in a healthy way. Go boxing, go punch a bag, and with every punch, say something that wasn't fair. Go for a run. This wasn't okay, and that wasn't okay, and this wasn't okay. You know, all of those, you can like incorporate it. It doesn't have to just be you in a chair, you know, or standing in a room. You can be creative with it. What are your thoughts on that, Sam?
I'm gonna do it. I mean, I don't know. I'm pretty like even temperament. Like, of course I get upset at things, but I never like say it. I'm just like, whatever, nothing's that serious. You'll get over it, you'll get through it. But then there are times where like it feels like my body's on fire for days.
Yeah.
So I think however anger looks for me in
Yeah.
a healthy way, I guess I just have to figure out how to do that. And I don't really know why I don't express, like I do get angry, but I don't express it.
Yeah. And you can be, anger doesn't have to look like screaming your head off, although it does look like that, right? Like, I've gotten angry with people and I've been like this. It is not okay that you did that. And I am completely angry right now, but I got it together, right? Like, and then I might go later and scream in a pillow or something, right? Like I held my respect with the person, but then took out all of my anger on the pillow or whatever. I had a thought. What was it? Oh, when you were saying like what, you know, I don't normally express that because nothing's worth that. It sounded a lot like what you said your mom says to you.
Yeah. And I can't even believe, like, I was just on the train and she's like, it's not, you don't need to be, don't get upset, Samantha. And that's like her line. Like whenever I'm like, Mom, this or that, she's like, okay, but why are you upset? And I'm like, I just told you. So I've always been able, I guess, even if I am feeling something, I've always been like, I just come back down very quickly without really feeling the feeling. And as you're talking, Melanie, I'm like remembering when my grandma passed away. It was like a bunch of us in the hospital, like we knew it was coming. And I remember two of my cousins being like, let it out, like what's wrong with you? And I'm telling them, like, I feel how you feel, it just doesn't look like you. But then I think it was like, I want to say months later, I just couldn't stop crying. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's just, but during that time, I just felt bad, like physically. Like I just felt heavy. I felt lethargic. I was just like deep sadness, but I couldn't cry about it, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. It makes sense. It's all this stuff and it's the training and conditioning of your childhood. I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
Okay. Put your hand on your heart. Sam, you having emotions makes you human. It makes you beautiful. God gave you emotions to communicate to you what's happening on the inside. Also, what's happening on the outside. When you see a room full of people partying and having a good time, you take in that information of that happening, it hits your emotions and you're like, woo, we're going to have fun. And so it's not just, it's that communication of let's have fun. Now, if you had seen a party and you're like, I don't want to do this, that's also an emotion that's trying to communicate to you. Emotions are your friend. They are just little messengers that we don't want to be ruled by, but we also don't want to shove in a closet. Think of them like children in that movie. There was that quote. Emotions are like kids. We don't want them driving the car, but we also don't want to put them in the trunk. And so give your emotions permission to have their place in the car where you get to express them and feel them and have them. And it doesn't make you not put together. It doesn't make you like frantic or all the crazy things that people say about Black women too. Like you as a Black woman, I just want to identify and validate that you get labeled things solely because you're Black. And so having to have it all together, just even as a Black woman, I cannot imagine what that's like. I have never had to deal with that. But I do know what it's like to be a woman and be called crazy and emotional and out there. But your emotions are beautiful and it's their time. They're letting you know they want out. They want to express themselves in healthy ways, but you're going to have to be okay with them being a little crazy at times to find your rhythm with them. I give you permission to have big emotions. Give yourself permission. You can do this. You won't die. You won't drown. You won't lose yourself. Jesus will be that sure footing that comes up underneath you to secure you. Go ahead, take a breath for me. I'm so proud of you for crying, sharing emotions with us tonight.
Thank you.
You're beautiful.
Thank you, Melanie.
You're welcome. Okay. You can tell me who's next after I come back from the bathroom because I need to pee. So potty break.
While she's in the bathroom, I'd love to hear what you're getting from this call so far. So you can type in the chat what you've received so far from this call. I'd love to hear. And then Tiana King is next, so you can get ready to jump on.
All right. So that was one of the ways that I've asked myself, how can I take better care of myself? And my heart said, stop holding it to pee. Go pee when you need to pee. I was like, okay, I will do that. I'll start taking care of myself by doing that. Okay. Who's next? What's happening in the chat?
I asked the ladies to share what they're getting from the call so far. So they're sharing what they've received. But Tiana King is next.
Okay.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi, Tiana.
I'm so excited to talk to you tonight.
I'm excited to talk to you.
So I'll set up my question and then I have context to add to it, unless you have questions first. But it's kind of around, I'm in week 8, but my question is around like what my heart is needing. And I'm potentially seeing that as something that is like a pain point for me, or perpetuating pain, that same need. So if the need is the same as the thing that's causing pain, how do I give my heart what it's needing, but not trigger that same pain cycle, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So tell me the context.
Okay, so a week or so ago, I had a one-on-one and I struggle with the heart connection and remembering past memories or pain, things like that. But a memory did come up of being like 6, playing t-ball, and it was an encounter with like my adult self and then the little girl, and the angst and stress she was feeling in performing. And I know that I still am very performative. I thought I was a type 3, but I've tested most recently as a 1. So always high achieving and perfectionism. So in that, it made me like incredibly sad as the adult self to see the little girl just not playing and having fun with sport. And I played sports my entire life, and I still am really into training and sports now. And so I see the play, needing the play aspect and having fun, but I enjoy and I have fun when I am performing. So I'm like, yeah, I think that kind of answers it.
Okay. So it's that thing where your heart needs to have the sports and the activities of it, but there's pain there because of the performance and, for instance, remembering when you were a little girl not playing because of that performance thing getting in the way. Is that correct?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. It's really about moments. So it's really about being present. And since you don't have a ton of memories, I'm assuming you disassociated a lot as a kid.
I'm starting to learn that I think that's the case. Yes.
And you guys, I just want to explain for everybody, you can disassociate like washing the dishes. Like we do this, right? Like we go and we wash dishes and we kind of like, oh, we do it driving, like especially a drive that's monotonous. We all of a sudden like, oh my God, how did I get here so fast? It's because you disassociated. And so disassociation, I don't want to like label some big old thing like this is bad and you shouldn't do it. Actually, everybody does it to some degree or another. And some of us learn to do it as a protective mechanism. Yeah, some children do it in their imagination, just escaping in their imagination because it's fun, not even because it's traumatic where they're at, but they have such a big imagination that they've escaped into that imagination world so much that they've lost memories as an adult. They're like, I don't remember that as a kid. I don't remember that. I don't remember that. So anyway, that's a little side note. But anyway, it's going to be, Tiana, it's going to be about being present for you. And so you're going to have to, it'll be work. It's going to feel like work. I'm just telling you that right now. Because you, being performative, you get in your way. And this is what I mean by that. You want to get this done, and you having a need slows you down. Right? And so you're like, I'll deal with that later, or I'll just ignore it, or whatever, right? So pushing through and pushing past, you're not going to pay attention to those needs. Well, I'm asking you to put on the brakes and pay attention to the needs. And So in sports, it would look the same as any other thing. Going into it, be really connected to yourself. Why am I doing this? What is the point? Is it physical activity? Is it community and hanging out with people? Is it the challenge I'm going to enjoy, like the challenge it's going to put to my body and the physical, like not just being physically active, but like I'm going to do something I don't normally do, and that's going to be really fun and interesting. Like figuring out the reason. What's your why to do this activity? And then holding that the whole time. Right? So what do I mean by that? When it starts going south of that, when it becomes something else, then you check yourself. Now, I know when you're playing sports, it's going to be a lot of activities going on. So, like taking a break to go to the bathroom. Hey, everybody, time out on the T-ball field. I need to go take a pee break so I can check in with my heart. Not going to happen, right? So you getting really good at checking in with your heart is going to be really important. So you practicing that off of the field or outside of sports activities is going to be crucial. Thoughts so far?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I mean, now what I'm playing is not competitive in a training sense. It is, but I mean, like I play tennis for fun, but it's fun when I'm winning, you know?
Yeah. I hear you.
And training, same thing. Like, I mean, there's competitive aspects to it or competitions. At the end of the day, I'm an adult now, so it's functional training. I'm trying to be healthy.
Okay.
But it does get competitive as far as numbers and lifts and times and things like that.
Okay. So how do you see? So here's the other thing that I want you to recognize too. This is a beautiful opportunity to heal those parts of you. So when you're in those activities, when you get triggered, like really paying attention to those triggers. And if you can't process it in the moment, like process it later. And because some things will absolutely start coming up for you. So well, there were some other thoughts I had. You mentioned about the pain connected to the need. Have you noticed that happening in present time at all?
Yeah, and that's kind of like a self-diagnosis connection I made that if sports and training can't be fun all the time for me, but fun is what I need, and I truly enjoy those things. Do I avoid doing those things if they're what's causing me to be this performative perfectionist? And so not always, like there's days where I can truly just enjoy movement. But I do notice that there's times where I'm like trying to be perfect at something or things aren't good enough. And, you know, for me, I'm judging myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So your homework's the same as everyone else for inner critic. That's ultimately what you're going after, is that inner critic. Getting that thing to allow you to have fun, even when, you know, even if it is, let's get a bigger muscle so that we can have more fun to do this, right? There's a way to do that without tearing yourself down if it's not perfect, you know. Am I hitting that correctly in my understanding?
Yeah, it's a quick question on that. Is that stopping and when I catch myself stopping in the moment and that's the check-in point, or is that correcting the thought and having a new thought?
Yes, it's all of it.
Okay.
So it's having the new thought, it's speaking a new truth, but it has to be right, a thought or a truth that you actually, your nervous system will agree with. So it's like, you know, I don't need to be perfect. I would never tell you to say that. Your nervous system's going to be like, what the hell? Like, you know, your nervous system will be like, yeah, I kind of get what you're trying to say there, but that's not real. And so saying a truth, like more like, I'm learning that there's more to me than being perfect or performing well. I'm learning the truth of who I am outside of performance. Performance is just part of what I do. It's not all of who I am, right? Just like statements that can bring truth. You'll know them intuitively in that moment, right? Like sometimes those moments create, especially when you're connecting to your heart and asking the Lord, what's the truth here? What's the lie I'm combating in this moment? What's the pain, right? So it might be triggering, it might bring up new memories for you to be like, okay, why is this so triggering right now? What's the problem? What am I feeling that I'm not listening to? When did this first happen? That's another question you can ask when you're in the moment. If it feels like, anytime it's like a level 7 or higher response, like 7 to 10 response to a level 2 problem, oh, it's tied to something else. It's rooted somewhere. So doing that work to sit and listen, and then being okay if you don't get answers right away. It's not about like forcing an answer right away. It's about the journey, getting to know yourself, right? Like if you had a friend who you wanted to know these things about, you wouldn't be like, come on, tell me, why aren't you doing like, why aren't you letting me know what I need to know? Like you'd be more like, okay, whatever you want to share, like, I'm here for you. I just want you to know I care. I want to know these things because I want to know you better. And so not taking that hard nose and that hard road with ourselves that we're so used to doing. That's like treating ourselves the way we treat everybody else, like basically, right?
Right. That makes sense. And in that, the first time you ever felt XYZ, when I have those, like this was part of the conversation a couple weeks ago. I don't even know that it was a real memory. It was just like a visualization, and that was that was the imagery that came up. But I'm assuming, is that still real? Those were, even though the memory wasn't real.
Right. It's still real. Even if you're not sure it's a full-on memory or it's like a broken memory, like broken pieces of several memories put together, it's okay. It's still real. It's still about the experience, right, of what we experienced. And that's okay. We don't have to be, again, that's the perfect thing, trying to show up to make it perfect, right? To trust it. But we don't trust perfect things. Actually, I don't trust anything that's perfect.
That's a good point.
Something wrong there if it's perfect. Outside of, like this needs to be in perfect condition, right? Like, because I'm gonna buy it. I'm gonna spend a lot of money. Now I'll spend $1 on it if it's a little messed up, right? Like, so we're not talking about like that kind of thing. And so we got to remove the objectification of ourselves off of this whole process. Like we can't objectify ourselves by like saying it's got to be in perfect condition for it to be worth anything. We're not an object.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. This is fun. You're making me think of, you guys. Okay. I just want to tell you, Abby Stumble has been on calls with Sammy. If you ever, for you, Tiana, and any other athlete, okay, Abby has great stuff for athletes. Like if you have, like, she just knows how to work with athletes. It's so good. Can't even tell you what you should ask her. But anyway, I might look at some stuff and see if I have anything that she's ever done, like a past podcast, sorry, a past podcast that is like geared toward athletes, because it's fascinating. Athletes have a different way of looking at things. There's things that like I have a married couple living with me, and he's a former NFL player. He played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And the way he processes stuff, like the way he's gone through life and the way he's approached life, all that completely different. I never, I don't think like that. And so I feel like athletes are like a little special niche where they have experiences that are a little bit different when it comes to like approaching problems and the way they treat themselves and the way they condition their bodies and their mind. There's like a lot of nuanced things that they have that are unique to how they were raised because of the athletic part. Yeah. Anyway, just a little side note. I love side notes. Okay. I have lots of rabbit trails. I'm looking at the chat. Okay. Who's next? Man, we've covered so much tonight. This has been good.
Karis is next. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Awesome.
Karis,
Hi.
how are you?
I'm very overwhelmed right now. My phone died, and thankfully I was able to get this to work. And I apologize ahead of time. I'm only in week 2. This is all very new to me.
That's great.
So like most of what you're saying is like, that's amazing. I have no idea how to do any of that. And I'm mixed with great gratitude and like just being really scared and uncertain. But I guess the question that I have, the thing that I think is holding me back the most is my feeling of being abandoned by God. I grew up in the church, and my parents were pastors, and I've always been the compliant, people pleasing obeyer out of all of the children. Like, I was the one who didn't go to jail, didn't go to the hospital, wasn't on drugs. I just always followed the rules. And
Yep.
in 2015, I had what I've never met anybody like you guys. Okay. Like this encounter thing or whatever.
Yeah.
My process with the Lord, he led me there in something like this. And now I'm hearing words that, vocabulary that's lining up with what I did experience. From like 2015 to 2018, about 3 years after a really, really hard thing that I went through. And I was just so desperate, and I stopped going to the Word to figure things out. And I'm like, I don't, blah, blah. And so when I went to the Lord, and it was a horrible, painful season, but it was the best season of my life. And then something happened. I don't even know what happened, and it was just gone. It was suddenly just gone. And I during that season, I had heard the Lord, like there were voices in my head that were constant. I deal with perfection. I deal with, fears all the time. I'm a mom. And so just being around, I homeschool my kids, just being around my kids triggers me. Because I want good things for them, but my parents made bad mistakes, and, just statements that they would say, like, you'll become what you hate, so be careful what you hate, just weird things. And because like just the fear that I have of really trusting authority, trusting, like I was taught that these people are the voice of God in my life. And then I had his voice, and I knew what he wanted, and I was okay just washing the dishes. You came in talking about purpose, and that was when I felt the most, I was doing the least, and I felt the most whole.
Yeah.
I was doing absolutely nothing.
Right.
And I'm so sorry that I missed whatever Tiana was saying, but I'm like, oh, that's me too. I just and recently I lost my sister to suicide, and she was an athlete, and we were best friends. And then felt like I got kicked out of church. Maybe I wasn't, but that's what I felt like. And so I want so badly to be okay.
Yeah.
And I'm 38, and I'm just, it's just so much. And I'm a mom. I want to be a good mom. And I feel like if I just could hear him again, how I did before, but then I'd have this distrust of God.
Yeah.
And just the question of, was it mental illness? Was I having an episode? And so it's so encouraging to hear all of you share your encounters, because I didn't know what they were, but I haven't had them, and I didn't think that I would lose them. And so I'm afraid. I'm just afraid.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Karis. So much love and compassion going out right now. And if I was there, I would be holding you if you allowed me to. I'd be hugging you and just being in this moment. You lost your sister. I'm so sorry. That all by itself is so hard. It's a process. When did you lose her?
She took her life February 14th, 2020. And it's been so hard because I'm dealing with her like probate and issues with my mom, and all, like, it's all so entangled. Everything is so entangled. And before she died, I was having a hard time. And there was a grace period. What I feel the Lord was telling me since I came into the program. Actually, this lady, Rachel, I don't know, she might be watching. One of the ladies, she was like, well, maybe basically I know that the Lord has not left me now. I know it. But I've been so mad at him for taking away the certainty that I had in that time of how he was taking care of me. And now I feel so alone and so much pressure and responsibility and fear of becoming my parents. And I am a parent, and then I hear little things like, I know you don't, it's all of this is about no condemnation. And I know that, but the perfectionist in me is like, well, you're a mom. You better get your shit in order. You better get everything right. You're ruining your kids right now. Like, it's just like so many levels.
Yeah, it is so many levels. I've been there. When I went on this healing journey, I also was a mom, and I kept thinking of that part where I was like, oh my God, I'm ruining my kids. And I just came into it and I saw like, oh, I can let the fear and the torment of messing them up block my own healing if I let it. Like, I can be distracted by that, or I can work on my shit, and then by working on my shit, I automatically make it better for them because I did the work on me. So I could focus on the pain that I might cause them or I am causing them and worry about that. And that doesn't do anything. Or I can work on my stuff and put that aside for now, believing that if I do this work, this internal work with myself and with the Lord, then that part will happen next. But it's like there's an order to it, right? And so just keep reminding yourself of that as much as possible, like, and tell yourself, yep, you're gonna mess them up. Yep, you're gonna mess them up. Because Karis, here's one of the things that helped me a ton. God was a perfect father, and 1/3 of the angels still fell.
Yeah.
They were in his presence. They were worshiping him. They saw everything that was beautiful about him, and they still rebelled. So I gave myself permission to be imperfect. I was like, okay, God, if you're a perfect father and 1/3 of the angels still fell, and I'm never going to be perfect as a parent, then what hope do I have? It's still going to happen to me. Right? Like I can do all of my best, and my children are still going to have their own journey, their own process, their own everything.
Yeah.
It's codependent of me to think anything different.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's helped me a ton. Just keeping that in God, you are perfect, and 1/3 of the angels still fell.
Yeah.
I'm giving my best. And so sometimes our best isn't good enough. Sometimes our best is just enough. And that's okay. But you working on you is going to be the perfect thing to do. One of the things that I want to share, I was so aware of a couple things. When you were talking about the statement, be careful what you hate, you become like what you hate. I felt like the Lord told me she was so good that she took their words and held, like, you didn't let any of their words fall to the ground. You were so conscientious. You were such the good daughter that you went after their words to watch over them and make sure you like honored their words.
Yeah.
Which caused a whole bunch of internalization. This was happening in a time when you should have just been playing. Like you should have just been being a kid. Being a kid. But that identity that you got from being the good one, from being good, the value that you got out of doing that for your parents, whatever the payoff was, if it was, at least I'm not causing more strife in the house, or mom and dad say this to me when I do well, and so that's the little bit of love I can get from them. I get it through being good. That's the thing that we want to go after. So when I say those things, tell me what your thoughts are.
I don't know what you mean by going after. I never thought of my obedience to my parents as being to please them. I'm sure that that was a part of it, but I felt like it was in service to the God that I believed was God, that I don't think is anymore. And I think that's where the basis of my question and my concern is that I, just wanting the God that I grew up with, the God that I've been serving, that I've been sacrificing to, isn't him. And I was with him, and I was learning him, and now I'm in this really weird, scary place. And I don't know. He has the same name. He was Jesus. He's what I knew. And so I still think it's him, but I don't know which part is him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what to believe. I don't know who to trust. And I don't know how trustworthy I am.
Yeah, it's because, often our parents can get in our God spot, and we have to go through the process of removing the face of men off of the face of God. I know exactly what you're sharing. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it's that, sorry, my phone is buzzing. It's that place of looking past the layers of your experience, looking past what was called God, and seeing where God really was. Like that's a painful process. It sounds like you're going through some deconstruction. Is that right?
Um, um, I feel like I feel like I'm maybe that's what it is. I'm trying to process what that word means. I think that I'm just eager to build again. I'm done with deconstructing. I'm just ready to put things back together and toss out what needs to toss, like you saying that, I just, the demolition of the house, like, let's just, if we're going to remodel it all, if we're going to tear it down, like, do it already. And let's get,
Yeah. Yeah. So you're on week 2.
yeah.
What is I can't remember. Does week 2 cover like speaking to your heart and stuff? Has that part been covered yet? Heart
No,
connect.
I've only been through it's basically the story of pain.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So connecting to your heart's going to be really powerful through this. You finding out like what you are needing, what you're experiencing, why you're experiencing that is going to happen through that heart connection a lot of times, along with many other things. But I want to do a little prayer thing right now. Could we do that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Go ahead and close your eyes. I just want to honor your heart. I want you to know why the heart matters. Okay. The heart is important in this process. God gave you your heart. When you were in the womb, your heart was formed before the brain. So when you were being formed in your mother's womb, your heart was there. It was beating, it's existing, and it knew what to do to keep you alive and going. It didn't need the brain to tell it what to do. Therefore, we have to honor and recognize that the heart has intelligence. It has answers for you that are locked up inside of it. Your heart has carried you from the very beginning. It's been the faithful one the whole time. It carries the issues of life. It carries the things that matter. It's been the witness all along. And when the brain showed up on that scene and started forming, all the brain did for the heart was regulate the heartbeat. And then you were continuing to be formed. But God speaks to you through your heart. Your heart will guide you. Your heart will lead you. Your heart will also have things pop up that don't make sense. It's okay. Your heart is worthy of the time that it's going to take for you to learn it. Your heart is worthy of the time that it takes for it to know, to be known. You have internalized, you have taken in so much as a kid because you were so caring. Like, you are so conscientious. You were such a good girl. But in being a good girl, you took on more than was yours to carry. And it's time to let out, let go, get it off. So I just speak to your process that in the name of Jesus, this process is going to be life changing, that you will hear the Lord clearly like never before. You're going to have the breakthrough that you're longing for. It is inevitable if you do this work. You are not broken, Karis. You are not broken. You don't need fixed. You're evolving. That's what's happening. You're shedding old skin. That's what's happening. Give yourself grace to shed that skin. So keep your eyes closed. When I say, if I ask you to picture something, are you able to picture it? If I say, can you picture a purple elephant? Can you picture it?
Kind of.
Kind of. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. God gave you an imagination as well, and He wants you to use that imagination. He also loves to partner with your imagination. And so I want you to see yourself in the closet. And I want you to see the Lord come into the closet. I'd love for you to invite Him there, actually. Say, Jesus, will you come into this closet with me?
Jesus, will you come to this closet with me?
Tell me what you sense.
Sorrow.
So I want you to ask your heart, I want you to repeat after me, heart, why am I sad?
What I said. I feel like it's my fault.
Uh-huh. Yeah. 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 I want you to see that fault that you feel in your chest. I want you to see it in your chest. And I want you to grab it and pull it out of you, off of you, wherever it's at. If it's on you, pull it off of you. If it's in you, pull it out of you. And hand it to the Lord.
It is. I just want to say that the Lord is confirming that I have heard Him, because in January, when I was back at the church, I had an encounter in the middle of a praise and worship, and I saw myself laying down, like face up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did it. And then I felt like the Lord was opening me up on a table and pulling things out of me.
Oh, wow.
And I just wanted Him to keep doing it. And I was a disturbance, to the service. And the night before I found out that my sister was gone,
Mm-hmm.
he said he'd closed me up already. He'd finished. I guess it's a phantom sorrow because it was already gone.
Or you took on a new sorrow. And that's okay. He's faithful.
Mm.
I want you to see yourself more like a tree. Okay. Trees have seasons, right? You're not it's not a one and done. You can never have that thing again. Like a tree will live 100 years and it will go barren and it will flourish and blossom and it will go barren and it will flourish and blossom. This is the cycle it does every year. This is part of its growth. This is part of what makes it be able to bear fruit, like all of the things, right? And so we're oftentimes with the Lord, things are not a one and done. So God dealt with a sorrow with me once, and now I shouldn't have that happen again. We are living things that have we have cycles, we have life happening, we are human, we feel, and so and God loves you so much. He would, if he has to do it every day for you, he would. So there's, you know, I just don't want you to think that there's something wrong. And you can also think that it's phantom. I'm not saying that's incorrect, okay? But I do want to make sure you're also not trying to avoid something, because God did a work. He did a work on the things that were there before that, right? Now there's your sister, like that's a whole nother, that's an, that's valid. Okay. What happened when you started giving him that?
Right now, I just feel my stomach shuddering.
Okay. All right. I want you to focus on that. Take a deep breath and breathe into that space. And feel it, sit with it. Where's it at now? What's it like?
Like a wall, like the room.
Okay. Go ahead and take another breath. What do you want Jesus to do in this moment?
Oh, Lord, I would like you to hush all the rest of the roles in my life, so it can just be you and me. For the rest of my life, for the rest of my days, all I want is that, and to be able to enjoy my husband and my children and not fear my effect on them. I just want to enjoy you.
I want you to repeat after me. I am not more powerful than God.
I am not more powerful than God.
I cannot stop his goodness.
I cannot stop his goodness.
His faithfulness is bigger than my failures.
Your faithfulness is bigger than my failures.
Lord, make this true for me more and more every day.
Lord, make this true for me more and more every day.
Teach me to be present
Teach me to be present
so I can enjoy my family.
so I can enjoy my family.
I renounce fear and I will not partner with it.
I renounce fear and I will not partner with it.
Holy Spirit, please tell me when fear is in action.
Holy Spirit, please tell me when fear is in action.
How's your flutter?
It's gone.
Okay. I think you're brave. I think you joining this program to do this work is incredible. You deciding to love yourself, necessary. Necessary. For you to get where you want to be as a mom, as a wife, as a human, you have to love yourself. Because it's as I have, give I to thee, right? Yeah. That's why, we can, especially with loved ones, right? Like they don't make us do anything. It's our capacity, like whatever it reaches our limit, and then that's our limit. And so if I love myself though, past, like it's my love of myself, that's the limit. Like it's like, okay, well, I fully love myself, so I can fully show up now for you. But I'm going to have boundaries and I'm going to have, perspective, and I'm not going to be hard on myself, and I'm going to show up, but I'm not going to expect perfection. And I get to be, I get to think that I'm good even in the midst of not doing it good. Like I still get to be good because God decided I was good. God gave his son for me. And that was enough to decide I was good. And so I don't need my goodness to come from what I do. I don't need my goodness to come from, all the solutions that I try to find to solve everybody's problems and be okay. Like that active brain that's always looking for what's wrong so that you can fix it before it goes wrong. Getting all of that to calm down, right? You're going to be able to do that work in this program. And I just, no shame. Shame off you. You remember that phrase they used to go, shame on you?
Yeah.
Shame off you, right? Like get it off. Shame off you. Girl. You were not created to carry all this bullshit. You're a beautiful woman, and you have a beautiful inside too. I want you to know that. I want you to believe that.
Thank you, Melanie.
Yeah. Sorry I wasn't as helpful as There was like some glitches on my end on that. And I was like, couldn't find it, but join another call. Let's see what God will do. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. I just wanted to own that. If you felt it ever glitchy, it was on me, not on you. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, ladies. It's a little bit past the time, and I did that on purpose because Karis is worth it. And she needed to see that. She's worth it. Can you work it? Is it worth it? Sorry. My kids would die right now. All right. In a second, and reverse it. Okay. All right. Well, I'm done. Put a fork in me, or I'm going to get goofy. Okay, girls. Ladies, you are the bomb. Jesse, take it over.
All right. So good. I could stay on for another hour with Melanie. So we'll have about, let me see the time. We'll have 40 minutes until 10 o'clock my time. It might be what, 4, 5, 6, 7 your time. So yeah, so we'll have time for you guys to talk and just chat, and you can unmute yourselves and just share anything that's on your heart, what you got out of the call, anything that came up for you in the call. And yeah, I'll let you guys chat, and then I'll let you know when you have about 10 minutes left. So if you want to stay, you can. If you have to go, that's fine too. But enjoy. Have a good night, ladies.
Sarita, I love seeing